This is a disastrous start to the Philadelphia Phillies playoffs. Despite having the Los Angeles Dodgers on the ropes, taking a 3-0 lead and getting an absolute gem from Christopher Sanchez, they have fallen into a 1-0 series hole due to some late inning struggles that were an all too familiar feeling for this Phillies team. I do want to break down what exactly went wrong for the Phillies, why I'm frustrated with Rob Thomson at a level that I have not really felt to this point in his tenure as Phillies manager, and everything else that did go wrong in what was a nightmare matchup last night. So to get right into it, it ultimately was a 5-3 victory by the Los Angeles Dodgers. You can see in the box score here, then breaking open the game with a 3-0 lead early on in the second inning. Shout out to JT Realmuto for breaking things open with a triple there, and then those late innings are where things went south. But you can see all those are runs allowed in the late inning, an ultimate 5-3 loss by the Phillies here. And I'm frustrated. I'm mad. This felt like a game that the Philadelphia Phillies should have won. This was not a matchup in which these two teams checked rock, played ball, and the best team won. The Phillies blew an opportunity here, and that's why it stings so bad. Now, to dive into what exactly went wrong, I first want to start off by pulling up the box score here, and it is impossible not to look directly at the bats. I do want to get into a pitching conversation here, but when you are paying the meat of the order to deliver runs for your baseball team, they simply have to do that, and that's why my eyes go right to the top of this batting order here. Trey Turner, 3 at-bats, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Kyle Schwarber, MVP candidate Kyle Schwarber, 4 at-bats, 3 strikeouts, 0 hits. Bryce Harper, 4 at-bats, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. Those 3 guys right there, it just is not good enough. They have to deliver for this offense. It has to be the top dollar guys. For Bryce Harper, for the showman, for the guy who is at his best when the opportunity is his largest. Did not feel that way last night. Now, that is not all that went wrong, and I do want to shout out a couple guys who I did think stepped up. Shout out to JT Realmuto for breaking the game open there. There were obviously some circumstances we were not prepared for, as Harrison Bader had to leave the game, which would ultimately turn out to be a groin issue. And I will note for this storyline specifically, is a big deal for this Phillies team. We know how much Harrison Bader has meant for completing this entire outfield picture. Groin injuries or any sort of muscle injuries are really not something that you rub some dirt on it and it gets better the next day. These are things that linger. We just were without Trey Turner for how many weeks due to that hamstring issue? It would be a huge bummer if last night was the last time we saw Harrison Bader in the playoff setting, but I do think there's a legitimate chance that that is the case there. Now, we'll wait until we get a little bit more news. I'm sure our guy Luke Arcani will be down there at the ballpark and all over whatever news does come out. But that brings me right to the conversation about Rob Thomson here, because I was ready to straight up drive to Philadelphia and chase him out of town myself, where my belief was it was Nick Castellanos pinch hitting for Harrison Bader just because there. It did feel better after the injury, but even me being a pro Castellanos guy, believing that that is a spark or an option that they should lean on at portions of this postseason, it made no sense to me why it was not Max Kepler being the guy taken out. But the conversation starts with pitching. Now, most of the people I've seen fired up has to do with Matt Strahm here. I'm not there. That's not what I'm going to say. But what I will note here is, why are the Phillies the only team in the entire universe that seems to consistently deal with pitch tipping issues? And shout out to Kyle Scott Lebowski, who tweets out, was at the Phillies game tonight. It was pretty clear that the Dodgers had something on Strahm. While he was warming up, Dodgers coaches gathered with the base runners, including Pages, who's on second here, and were monitoring something clearly about Strahm and his delivery. And to give another look at this here, that you can see a very clear arm signal and a very clear, just locked in vision of what Strahm is throwing in his glove. I'm not like, pitch tipping, I think, is a lot of times overblown. That, to me, the fact that it is talked about like a 100% success rate thing is crazy to me. Like, even in this exact situation, say that he for sure gets a clear view that Matt Strahm is throwing a fastball, and then he signals that a fastball is coming. That still means the hitter has to process that, turn around, react, and hit a baseball for it to be effective there. I don't understand why this is seemingly a consistent issue for this Phillies team and no other team in baseball. It feels like, I'm sure there's other circumstances, and I know we see things here and there, but it just feels like this is a way more frequent issue with this Phillies team, which I do not understand, but that's not why I'm mad about last night. Did Strahm obviously lose them the game by allowing that home run and things kind of falling apart from there? Of course, but I have an issue with the sequence that led up to it. For starters, Christopher Sanchez, an absolute gem last night. This dude was the ace that you expect and know him to be. This is the second runner-up in Cy Young voting. The guy that will come in second in that award there. The guy that has been an all-star, is straight up one of the best pitchers in baseball. Start treating them like that. And one of my takeaways, one of my beliefs heading into this playoffs, one of the things that I really wanted to see was a takeaway MLB wide was for people to walk away and say, wow, Christopher Sanchez is among the most elite arms in baseball. That is not going to happen until you start recognizing and treating him like that yourself, Rob Thomson, because he should have remained in that baseball game. You should have. I understand. Like, this was not me saying Christopher Sanchez was going to throw a complete game, but let him get that third out in the sixth inning there, because that's what started the spiral. Now, David Robertson came in, took care of business in that specific situation, got the out, and that brings us to another Rob Thomson decision, as Robertson went right back out there for that seventh inning there. That was problematic to me because then he could not finish the job. That's when Matt Strahm had to come in, and ultimately that's when the home run did happen and the game did fall apart. But that whole sequence to me starts with the fact of you not trusting Christopher Sanchez to get one more out. Is it true that the Dodgers were starting to time him up a little bit? Did I think that Sanchez had a ton of life left in this game? No. But did I think he had one more out left in him and that would have set yourself up in a far better way moving forward into this game? Yes, I do think that is the case there. Now, moving forward, some of the other decisions, of course, Bader, we got out of the way here. I did like the Edmundo Sosa attempt at providing a spark. We also got Johan Duran coming in the ninth inning. While the team is down 5-3, that makes zero sense to me whatsoever. The only angle that I can possibly get here is that this team has had some time off. This is to get him sharp, keep him in the routine, that kind of thing. But I just don't see any single circumstance in the entire universe where I need to see Johan Duran in a playoff game that the Phillies are losing. It's a different story if this is a save situation or even a tie game, if you want to make that case to me here. I don't get it in that spot. That was a burn a pitcher kind of spot to me. I don't care if it's Taijuan Walker out there in the ninth inning. And I understand you're still trying to win the baseball game. You're not punting on it. But the fact of the matter, it was the eighth inning that was your chance to strike. That you got the bases loaded and were unable to deliver there. And Mundo Sosa could not come through in those opportunities. You had the top of the order, having a chance, having another crack at putting runs on the board and giving this team a chance. None of those things happened. It felt like a loss. We knew it was going to happen. And again, I'm not saying Rob Thomson should have quit on that, but it did feel like an unnecessary time to give this Dodgers team a look at the guy who's going to be the most important pitcher for the rest of this series here. So I did not understand putting Johan Duran in that game. I would really prioritize making sure that this is not a button you're hitting as often as possible. You're clicking it when it's necessary. That is your guy, the guy that should shut down the game. You don't want anybody to have any chance of hitting. Those odds do not increase by using him more frequently there. So I did not get the vision there. Now, of course, this still circles back to the bats. It just has to be better than that from everyone across this team. And to pull up the box score once again, like none of this was good enough. Team-wide, across their 31 at-bats, notching 5 hits there. 3 walks, 12 strikeouts. And one of the takeaways that I had coming into yesterday, or one of the keys to yesterday's matchup in my mind, it was to work counts, to take pitches, to get Shohei Ohtani out of this game by any means necessary. That has to be a key to the series, is you have to attack this Dodgers bullpen. I did not think there was a clear enough effort about making sure that was the case last night. There were some good at-bats. There were some guys that work counts there. Team-wide, it was not to the level that I needed to be moving forward. And that's what puts this Phillies team in a tough hole. This is going to be the most important series in the entire MLB playoffs. That I said yesterday and still feel that the winner of this series will be the team that wins the World Series. I think these are the two best teams in baseball, and it's unfortunate that their paths collide in the opening round. But that is no excuse for this Phillies team. This has to be we look ourselves in the mirror and pick ourselves up moment, and Game 2 is as must-win as one could possibly come. And to that point, it will be Jesus Luzardo on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies here. We've gotten a lot of confidence being expressed to him by the people within the walls of those locker room, headlined by JT Realmuto here. I have some mixed feelings on this. Straight up, I have more confidence in Ranger Suarez, but I understand this is about setting yourself up for the remainder of the series. And to that point, Ranger Suarez was available last night and was not used, which, you know, I think is worth a couple questions in a media session to Rob Thomson. I'm very mad that I've been a Rob Thomson guy for the duration of his tenure in Philadelphia, that I've defended him in a lot of opportunities. It just felt like he did not have that pulse of the game last night. And that could be like a career-altering type of mistake, that if they do lose this series, if they do not find a way to come back and beat the Dodgers, we do feel like we're at the stage where there is somebody that has to catch the blame or some sort of repercussions. And we know there's a lot of incoming roster changes here, but I do wonder if Rob Thomson gets evaluated under a little bit more of a microscope after a performance like last night. We're not going to get there yet. We still have a series to win. We're not throwing in the towel from a Philadelphia Phillies perspective, but this is a big moment moving forward. The Luzardo has to pitch a gem here. I like that it's happening at home. I do think Luzardo's a guy who feeds off the intensity of the crowd, the energy in the building. We see him pitching with emotion, and I think that is a good trait there. I will also note that the range between when Jesus Luzardo is at his best and when he's at his worst is quite drastic here. Now, in the season overall, he's been good, and I understand this being the guy that you do want to trust and to look at his numbers there. He's pitched in 32 games, 183.2 innings pitched there, struck out 216, 167 hits allowed, a 3.92 ERA and 1.220 whip there. Luzardo's just got to be the guy. That for all this, Dave Dombrowski, the critiques of you didn't do anything this summer. This is where it will show that, sure, Max Kepler was on the field yesterday, but Luzardo is going to be the answer. This will make or break. Monday's game will very much make or break whether last season's offseason was viewed as a success or not. I don't feel particularly great about that for the time being, but I do need to wash my hands from this. I need to stop stewing the loss. We need to turn a page, move forward, and get this team back to winning a baseball game. But boy, was game one a missed opportunity. I'm fired up. I'm heated. My anger is directed at Rob Thomson as well as the hitters in this lineup here. But we'd love to hear from you guys below. Who is at the top of your blame list? Am I being too hard on Topper here? Again, I've been a guy that has defended him throughout, but let me know where your head's at in the comments. Appreciate you guys for tuning into this video here. Make sure to smash that subscribe button if you have not just yet. Drop a like on this video. Hopefully a lot more action coming in Red October, but me and Luke Arcane are going to be all over it right here on Phillies Digest, so make sure you're hanging along with us. I'll be back to talk with you next time. Peace.